We always try to bring innovative CMOs here every year. And I'm excited that, and we also try to keep a global outlook. And we managed to do both with our next guest, who is first going to give a short presentation and then sit for some conversation. Starbucks has been a brand I've really admired for years and years. I've known its CEO for years and years. And we are very, very fortunate to have not only this CMO of Starbucks China here, but an alumnus of P&G. Please join me in welcoming Emily Chang.
Thank you. Hi. It's wonderful to be back. Thanks for having me. Looks familiar. Well, the first time I went to China was in early 2000s with Procter & Gamble. I was the Pantene brand manager. And now, overall, I've spent 10 years working in the US and 10 years working in China. So today I thought I'd start off by introducing a little bit about what I've learned about the China digital landscape, and then share with you a little bit about what we're doing at Starbucks. So you often hear everybody saying China's different. Well, I guess every regional lead always says their country's different, right? Including Canada. So what's really different about China? Let's start off with a little bit of tangible. For instance, oh, hi, Eric. There's so many people I remember. It's so nice. You guys have YouTube, and we've got Youku. You guys have Google. Sadly, we don't have Google. We have Baidu. You guys have Amazon. We have Taobao and JD, which you heard about earlier today. So basically, everything in China rolls up to three internet giants we refer to as BAT: Baidu, Alibaba, and Tencent. So what's the implication of such an integrated digital ecosystem? Well, let's look at Tencent's social platform, for example. If you look at WeChat, all the functionalities you see from this range of apps is offered in WeChat. So if you look at my phone, for instance, and if I see you at lunch later, I'll share with you my screen. Basically, everything is slotted into folders, and then I've got WeChat and, of course, the Starbucks app. So when you're in such an integrated ecosystem, you may never leave WeChat. You've got everything you need, from payment to social. It's everything you've got wrapped up in one. We're also basically a cash-free society. So Package Facts shares that 79% of US consumers are still making monthly cash payments. Let's look at the other side of the world in China, where even the homeless sit there with a QR code because nobody has spare cash. It's not a joke. So if you Google homeless Chinese QR code, you'll see them all. We've got two uncles who sit outside of my neighborhood, and they both have their QR code. The other thing I'll say is you really are truly mobile, because when I go out for a run on Saturday, I just carry my mobile device. I've got my running map, I've got my health monitor, my books, my music, and my wallet. And if I want to stop for a cold brew on the way home, I've also got my loyalty. So we're essentially a cashless society. What we call it is OMO, and you've probably heard of that. And if not, you've heard O2O. So what's the difference? The 2 in O2O sort of implies you're going from one online to offline or offline to online. And China's really blown by that already because we're already integrated. So if we as leaders aren't creating an OMO experience, merging online and offline, whether the customer is in the store or not in the store, we're frankly not meeting their needs. Another buzzword you might have heard of is 新零售, which is new retail. Coined by Daniel Zhang, who's the group CEO of Alibaba, what is new retail? And why does it resonate so well with Chinese who are truly digital natives? Well, let me just share a couple of statistics that bring to life how integrated we are and how much we rely on not only digital but social platforms. So 29% of Chinese purchases are influenced by social media. That's more than twice what you see as the global average. 41% receive their promotions through social platforms compared to 34%. And here's the big one that I just recently shared with a colleague at a different company, and he's like, I can't believe that. But it is absolutely true. 52% of our consumers shop on smartphones daily or weekly. I have a husband and a daughter who both have startup companies, and I'll tell you, we receive on average 10 to 15 packages in our home. And that's not unusual. We just get a lot of Elmer's glue for her slime business, and we get a lot of robots for his business. But our neighbors get their packaged fruit. They got a cat delivered the other day. I'm also not making that up. I was like, well, yeah, it seemed okay. But globally, the number's only 14%. So you can see the way we live in China, whether it is the integrated digital platforms or OMO or this new retail environment we're in, there are some differences. So I'll pivot now from the digital landscape to Starbucks. So I look after marketing and category teams, insights and analytics, B2B sales, and then this relatively big group called digital ventures. And digital ventures looks after our digital ecosystem, which Starbucks refers to as the digital flywheel. So if you've heard about that, we're going to talk through a little bit about our digital flywheel today, starting with loyalty. In China, I guess in a lot of different countries, people love Starbucks. They really love it. And here's something interesting. My Starbucks Rewards loyalty program in China is a little bit different than the one you're accustomed to here, because there it's a paid membership. So they not only have to opt in, they have to pay to become part of this community. And we have almost 7 million 90-day active members. I heard Susan earlier saying, I don't look at overall metrics, I looked at the engaged metrics. I think that's completely spot on. We have tripled our membership of the loyalty database in the last 4 years. And here's an interesting statistic. 90% of our members are using the app. So how do you get to that level of engagement? Our members also enjoy benefits that you guys enjoy, like a free birthday drink, or they can earn stars with every reward, with every purchase. But also, we go back to OMO, and we bring that online loyalty program back into the store. So for instance, every year, we host a members' night, where we invite our most valued members to over 100, 150 stores across China. They scan a QR code when they come in. We create a number of digital frames so that they can immediately post where they are for the night. And then they'll experience throughout the evening some connection directly with our baristas. They'll have access to some special limited edition products. They'll engage with each other. And what I love about this is when they leave, they've now built their own community. So the engagement and the experience is not only between customer and barista, but it's customer to customer, and it continues after they leave the event. And we don't just create this for our members. So every autumn we have a coffee festival, and it's what my team's working on right now, where we invite customers, probably 60, 70,000 customers across all 3,500 stores into Starbucks to enjoy coffee tasting. It's a great opportunity to share a coffee craft and engage with our customers one-to-one. So that's a little bit about loyalty. In China, with 3,500 stores, we've got a quarter of the stores that the US has, but we have half the members. So you might be wondering how we are able to create that level of engagement. I think it comes down to OMO. And this is a different program I'd like to touch on briefly, which is 用心说, which is Say It with Starbucks. This is a program we co-created with Tencent, which is all about social gifting. So I can go on my phone and say, Mark, thank you so much for inviting me. I'm going to send you a nitro. And he will pick up his phone, and he'll see the video of me saying, thank you for inviting me. Here's a nitro. And then he'll go to the store and scan the QR code and enjoy his gift. But it's about so much more than social gifting as part of our digital flywheel. Say It with Starbucks is all about creating customer human engagement. So for instance, if we think about Chinese New Year, not only the largest human migration in the world, but it's the one time we get to go home and see our parents. What are the things you wish you could say to your parents? So this Chinese New Year, we asked our customers about that. You see, as a Chinese American, I feel like I'm allowed to share a little bit of this because I have both. If you're an American, you call mom, you're like, Mom, I love you. Did you go to yoga? Everything good? If you're a Chinese daughter, you're like, Mom, look after your health. Remember to wear your jacket. It's getting cold. I bought you some underwear. And then mom would probably be like, are you getting fat? Do you have a boyfriend? You know, so this little bit different culturally. So we asked our OA followers this year, when you go home, what do you wish you could say to your parents, but you hashtag 开不了口, which is you're going to struggle to say. We took all of those feedbacks, 200,000 feedbacks overnight, and we turned it into an infographic and shared it with our customers. And we told them, did you know that over 50% of you have screamed I love you to a celebrity, but only 18% of you have ever told your mom and dad that you love them? The number one thing you wish you could tell your parents, but you don't think you're going to be able to say it is, I know how much you've sacrificed for me. Well, I was really touched by this, and so what our team did is we took those major messages that our customers wanted to say, and we turned them into digital cards and put them on our shelf. And Chinese New Year was a good period for us for Say It With Starbucks. The number one card, I understand all that you've sacrificed for me. Isn't that cute? We had some other ones, like this is a nice way of saying, I'm single, I'll always be your baby. Like, back off. And yes, you're always right. There are some amazing messages, and we looked at how many times our customers bought these cards and shared them and said it with Starbucks. And it's amazing to be able to take your scale and use it for this kind of good. So now, you a lot of times will see a robotic arm or ex-cafe, and it's called digital enablement in the coffee world. I'd pause here and say, that's not digital enablement to me, because the enablement that matters to me is the kind that enables more human connection, not eliminates it. So something that's really important to me, and what Mark said this morning to kick off totally resonated, because as a marketer, you don't expect me to get completely geeked out, but I think the sexiest thing is not a robotic arm, but it's about digital payments. And the reason for it is, with over 60% digital tender today, we've got over 80% cashless in our stores. We know what our customers are buying. We know their journey over time with us. We know which stores they're going to. And we know their preferred payment method. And not only is it better for us to then be able to create more customized and relevant offers for our customers, it's great for our partners, because we're able to save so much time that used to be spent processing payments that now they can engage with customers and perfect their coffee craft. Over 30 hours freed up per store per month. Now, I was going to talk about the roastery, but I see this thing that says like 0 time remaining, so maybe I'll just let you ask me about it, John.
Absolutely.
We did this really cool thing with augmented reality, and we then brought it into all of our stores. So the other thing I wanted to say is on our digital flywheel, a lot of it is about digital experiences. And we didn't just do this at the roastery, but we also extended it to all of our stores at key moments. So I was going to, again, go back to Chinese New Year. It's the year of the dog, super cute, dogs everywhere. So how do you stand apart as Starbucks and send out a Chinese New Year greeting as only we can? So we created an experience where customers can walk up to the store and scan the siren. Oh, look, it's like literally right there. That's perfect. And when you scan it, an AR pops out, one of 12 messages. And we wish you a happy Chinese New Year. And we give you the customary Chinese New Year gift, which is a hongbao, a red envelope. And the digital cash from your digital hongbao immediately slots into your digital wallet, so you can use it when you come into the store. So this is an example of what it looks like. And this is just the beginning. We've leveraged AR a couple of times to just create delightful online and offline integrated customer experiences, and there's just so much more to come. So I'm excited to share with you guys across the digital flywheel, whether it's about AR or whether it's about going cashless eventually as a goal, social gifting, loyalty, and it's not been boring time at Starbucks, because now the biggest thing that my team is working on is activating delivery and mobile order and pay. This is what the digital flywheel is all about. And you guys probably read in the news that we're opening a new store every 15 hours. That's a lot, and we're really busy. But it's about more than the number of stores to me, and it's about more than the number of taps and clicks and impressions. For me, it's about the quality of every human connection, and it's about that authenticity and the trust that we have with our customers. And for me, that's the new retail. Thanks.
It must feel good to be home.
It does feel good to be home.
I mean, 10 years and 10 years, and in those 10 years prior, well, actually, while you were in China, you seem to almost specialize in building bridges between American brands and the Chinese market. You worked at Apple, which was an extraordinary experience that you told me some about at dinner last night, which were some amazing stories. You were there during the last couple of years that Steve Jobs was there, and you also worked at the International Hotel Group in hospitality, and then of course Starbucks. You know, what's unique besides what you laid out there, what's the differences that you've noticed in building that bridge?
So having worked on both sides, this is a great question, right? Because if you're global, you're thinking, how can everything be different? And if you're in the region, you're like, why can't global understand me? And I think it comes down to somewhere in the middle, right? Because there are a couple things that I think are human truths that don't change. Like, a brand is a brand. People are coming to buy your product or to come to our store because the brand represents something. It represents a promise. And so the brand has to be consistent because it is a promise that we're extending to our customers. You know, human nature is the same. Consumers, we want to be recognized, we want to be rewarded, and feel like we're part of something bigger. And I think equally important building a business is we work or we leave people, not companies. And so being able to understand how to find the right people, motivate them, train them, make sure they're successful. Those are, I think, human truths that are all the same wherever you are. And I think that first one, maybe the brand is probably the most contentious at times, but there has to be a foundation that's consistent. Yeah. And I think the difference is, well, there are a lot of Chinese people, y'all. There are a lot of people. And so that does result in some differences. One is you can scale really quickly. So you can rise or fall very quickly. WeChat, in its very first year, registered 100 million users. And you know, with a lot of people, what I see is a lot of data, like buckets and buckets of data. And right now, that's the best way to learn and optimize and iterate. So with that much data, just think about what sits at the fingertips of people like Richard Liu. It's incredible. So how do you partner with them? How do you build your own? How do you collect your own? But also, how do you leverage to accelerate, you know, your own digital flywheel? Yeah. I think that's one. The second one I'd say is the government gets intentionally involved. So in 2014, Premier Li was at the World Economic Forum. You probably saw him, and he talked about accelerating mass innovation and entrepreneurship. And that sounds good, but it's very meaningful, because when the government says go in China, you can go. The government started backing thousands of tech funds. And here's a statistic. Before 2014, the average VC funding for tech was sitting about $3 billion. In 2014, after that statement, it jumped up to $12 billion. And the year after that, $26 billion. So I think the fact that there are a lot of people and that the government gets intentionally involved to accelerate progress are probably two big differences.
Yeah. If I can dig into the government thing a little bit, there's another side to that. Starbucks has been extremely successful in China. A great sort of United States export, if you will, and now a global company, obviously, around the world. That hasn't been the case with a number of other companies in China. They've actually not been able to go to China. So what's the view as a person who's lived sort of 10 years in one culture, 10 years, how is the government understood in the business context? Obviously, it's wonderful when they say go, but it's not so wonderful when they say stop.
Yep. Jenny's here somewhere from SK2. We had some interesting experiences back then in China. I think, you know, one of the reasons I joined Starbucks is the way we engage with our communities, with our governments, with our partners, and with our customers. It's something I'm really proud of. Right. And it's something that means a lot to me. Because I think, you know, as you get older, it becomes less what brand you're working on. It becomes, when I wake up every day, am I doing something good? Right. And do I go home and tell my daughter, and I'm proud of what we do every day. Right. And I think that's something that Starbucks cares deeply about. It's part of the DNA of the brand. Yeah. And so, you know, a great way to win trust and partnership is by saying and then doing what you say when it comes to doing good. Yeah.
What attributes do you need to succeed in China? China is a very important and very big market for P&G.
Oh, that's such a good question. Jasmine, you can jump in. I'd say getting comfortable with discomfort would be the first thing. If you go in and you're expecting a framework or a playbook, it's not going to exist. If you want an SOP, they're going to be like, what's a SOP? If you want to write one before the ink dries, it's going to be outdated. So I think being comfortable with discomfort is really important for success. And then the other thing I'd say, and I mean this in the kindest possible way, is to reserve judgment. Because I think when you look at a different culture and you're not used to it, if you look at it through your own lens, you're going to judge it. It's inevitable, it's human nature, but you've got to seek to understand whatever country and whoever you're working with, why do they behave that way? What is the reason behind it? And seek to empathize and understand. And I think, how it comes into play in digital, for instance, y'all remember, maybe some of you don't, but there's this company once upon a time called Groupon. When Groupon first launched, America was sort of like, whoa, that is like such a good idea. Peace, you win, right?
Right.
But in China, if you invent something great like that, you don't win. You start a war. And then 1,000 copycats come in, right? And we sometimes poo-poo these copycats. We're like, oh, they copy. But back to what Susan was saying, it's all about the best product. You got 1,000 copycats burning money and trying to be the best one that stays on top. Mm-hmm. The market benefits, the consumer benefits, and the product ends up being pretty damn good.
Right.
So I think if we can withhold judgment and kind of think about the lens of the culture, we can learn a lot.
Now, this online merging offline, the OMO that you mentioned in your presentation, I want to dig a little bit deeper into that because I think all of us are sort of, both as in business, but really as consumers, we're looking forward to that to happening here quickly, because that would, it seems like it's already past the tipping point in China. What insights have you gained from watching that happen on your watch?
What insights have I gained? Well, there's this really interesting insight because you see how, if you should just download a couple of Chinese apps, just play with them, and you'll see how incredibly different it is. One of the things I realized was, in 2010, only about 1/3 of Chinese had access to the internet. But then all these cheap smartphones came out, right? So how we grew up like learning on computers and learning how to type, I remember it was super creepy. My way to learn how to type was they played circus music, like dun dun da 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 dun dun. And that's how I learned how to, I started with a computer, and most of us start with a computer, and then we go mobile. Well, China just leapfrogged, and they went straight to mobile. And so when you think about, mobile Taobao, Shoutao, or when you think about some of the other digital experiences, they start with mobile. I think in the States sometimes you hear people encouraging mobile first.
Right.
Well, China is mobile first.
Right.
And when you're mobile first, it's not just mobile technology, it's like human mobility. So when you think about the roastery, it's like, if you haven't heard about it, we opened this kind of big store December 5th in Shanghai. And it's 30,000 square feet. Howard Schultz calls it the modern Willy Wonka. And there are 5 bars. And even now, 8 months later, there's a line outside queuing to get in. So we want to make sure our customers have a great experience, because when you walk into something like that, you're sort of like, whoa, But when you download the mobile Taobao to get Wi-Fi, you can also use it and give yourself a self-guided tour. You walk around the store, you can see what's going on. That one picture I showed briefly is you put your phone up to the copper cask and you can see what's happening to the beans inside. When you go to the bar, you don't have to find a barista or get a paper menu. You just scan and AR instantly jumps out with the entire menu for you, so you can kind of peruse at your leisure. When you order something, of course, you pay digitally, and then you're free to walk around. You don't have to stand there and wait, because you'll get a notification when your order's ready, and it'll tell you which bar it's going to be ready at. So it's all about enabling mobility, and I think to me, it's more than enablement, it's empowerment, because you're empowering customers to experience the way they want.
So this new retail experience, sort of fueled by online merging with offline, it changes the actual architecture of the store, doesn't it?
It does. I think it absolutely does. You design much more thoughtfully. And when you think about a customer journey, it's funny, you think about the old days when they're like, well, where's the customer come in, and where's the stanchion, and where's the signage? Now it's different, because there may not be one line. It's a customer journey implies a start and an end in some ways. So we don't even talk about journeys. We talk about customer experiences, because one customer might experience it this way, and one might go over there, and one might just stand there and look at cups, and one, everyone's got their own way to engage with what you have to offer.
Right.
And being able to delight them no matter how they want to engage with you, I think is what OMO is all about.
Right. Yeah, awesome. We have time for one, maybe 2 questions before we have to move on. Does anyone have a question for our alumnus over here? And we got a mic coming just so we can make sure to get.
What I'm really inspired by it is how you transform the experience of coffee, of something that you drink to get out of sleep, but something to a very pleasant experience, and you're inventing a lot more ways to do it. And I think you're also educating the customers to enjoy coffee in a very different way. When we think about P&G business, we have this bias that our products are something that's a necessity versus a pleasant experience. I think, how did you transform or keep transforming this, your product, core product, to expand the consumer experience?
I think with any product, brand, service, it's all about authenticity. This year I had the unbelievable privilege to go on what we call origin trips. And that's a select group of Starbucks partners gets to go to live on a farm where our coffee is, where it comes from. And you get to see the lives of the farmer and the entire experience from coffee cherry all the way to a cup. We call it from bean to cup as a story. And when you look at what we do, not only in terms of transparency, traceability, how we try to ensure sustainability, and how we build up not only the coffee farm, but the entire community, you start seeing like the heart of the brand. And I think we are very purpose-driven. And I think people who work for Starbucks are very proud of Starbucks. We're proud of the way we treat all of our partners with integrity. We're proud of our coffee craft. You know, we have these barista championships in China where the baristas come and lahua, we create latte art, and then we judge the best latte art. We do a lot to peiyang, to nurture the, it's not good when you can't speak English anymore, to nurture that coffee culture. And when it's authentic, and we all love coffee, it comes through in every customer interaction. You know, and then customers come in and they want to learn more. So whether that's through getting a latte and it's got a heart, which I can never pull that point so mine looks like a butt, or whether we have pour-over bars now, so you can have pour-overs, you can drink a Chemex, you can drink a Siphon, and you can start understanding all these different ways to brew, as well as Teavana, which you guys probably know here as a retail mall store that has recently been transitioned. But in China, with the roastery, it was such a fun, one of my first things I did, we got to build our first luxury Teavana bar on the second floor of the roastery. And what does that look like? How do you create tea reimagined in a country that has 4,000 plus years steeped in, oh, that was a good pun, steeped in tea culture. So I think, you know, that it always comes back to authenticity, like what do we stand for and who are we and what context do we work in? And as long as you hold true to that, then I think it's like, stop talking. Yeah.
No, just fixing my pant leg.
Looks good, it's got a good crease.
However, I do have to say that we don't have time for another question, unfortunately, but it has been such a pleasure to have you here. Thank you so much for coming, Emily.
Thank you.